Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, where this week we're going to be starting one of two new stories in the anime DC Comics lineup in Tales of Earth 2. We're bringing a new anime to the realm of PowerCore, one that a lot of you might be familiar with and one that you might be surprised that I'm bringing here into the fold, that being Testament of the Sister New Devil, Speed Burst. What if Basara Toujo was the Flash? Season 1. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this combination is entirely left field. Now, between the two versions of the Flash, that being Jay Garrick and Barry Allen or Wally West, take your pick, it's definitely the Silver Age that got the better end of the deal when it came to lore and rogues galleries and things of that nature. But you have to start somewhere when you're going with the story of the Earth 2 Flash. And I wanted to do something that's a little outside the box. You see, with the Silver Age characters, their powers are more steeped in the scientific or in the sci-fi, whereas the Golden Age was more of that mysticism and the unknown. And with a series like Testament of the Sister New Devil, it actually blends pretty well with a few other series when you know how to move the pieces around. This is definitely going to be a big challenge for me, but it's one that I'm looking forward to. And after a few rewrites, I'm very happy with how the script for Season 1 came out. So, I hope you guys will enjoy this new story that we're bringing to the channel, and we'll be looking forward to the crossover later on this year, when Basara Toujo's Flash meets with Shido Itsuka's Flash from the Data Live universe. But before we get to that crossover, let's look into the origins of the speedster hero and his journeys in this world of heroes, demons, and gods. Without further ado, let's get into the Testament of the Sister New Devil, Speed Burst. What if Basara Toujo was the Flash? Season 1, Part 1. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. My name is Basara Toujo. To some people, I'm a hero. To others, I'm a monster. And to some, I'm an annoyance. Take your pick, honestly, I don't really care. To be honest, I never really had desires of being a hero. Can't really say it was on my bucket list in life. To be honest, if the power had skipped me, if I had been born as some ordinary average Joe, I would have been fine with that. For as long as I can remember, it's only been me and my dad. And I was fine with that. Sure, we had our troubles. We had to leave, start a new home for ourselves. But as long as we were together, I could get through anything. Then, towards the end of my summer vacation, all that changed when two girls entered into my life. Maria and Mio. But I'm probably getting ahead of myself. First, you should probably know the story about how our secrets got brought to the family table. It all started on a hot summer day. Basara Toujo and his father, Jin Toujo, sat awkwardly as across from them there were two girls. A taller one, more refined in her body and shape, named Maria Nasuri, along with her little sister, Mio Naruse. With silver hair in tow, the two girls were happy to meet their new family. As Jin had put it, he had gotten married to their mother, who was working overseas. And, shortly after, his job would come calling, as he too would have to take a leave of absence. For Basara, He never tried to question things with his father. He was a laid-back type of guy, not someone who took things overly serious. But he'd have to admit, his dad was definitely a little weird. I mean, sure, he was an international photographer and worked for some of the best photography companies in the world. Whenever he was hired for his skills, it could take him anywhere. From a rainforest in the Amazon to the snowy Arctic. This time he was being called into Dubai. It was overnight, so he didn't have much time in the way of goodbye, only to tell his son that he was going to be the man of the house while he was gone. Basara didn't really mind this, but his sisters were kind of strange. First, there was Maria. Maria was like a thermometer. That was the best way to put it. Her temperature goes up and down, and he could never really tell what she was on. One minute, he's waking up early in the morning with his sister, if you want to call it that, wearing surprisingly short shorts, a tank top that barely left anything to the imagination, and she was riding him like he was the last carousel at the Ferris. Then the next minute, she's slapping him in the face, calling him a pervert, even though she was on him. And then there was Mio, who didn't make things any better. Don't let the small size fool you. No, the girl was mischievous, if anything else, and she was the one who always had her mind in the gutter. It seemed like both girls were just opposite sides of the spectrum, and Basara found himself somewhere in the middle. Still, being the one who was in charge and man of the house, it meant that he had to put on the big boy pants and try to be a leader. For the most part, things went along relatively well. Dinner was made, they ate as a family, they were able to handle chores and responsibilities, and so far, summer passed by without much fanfare. For Basara, despite how hectic things could be at home, his sisters were, well, they weren't the worst thing that happened to him. And besides, they were all in the same boat, having parents that worked overseas far away. Now at least they would have each other. And as his father had told him over the phone, the girls had been through a lot, a troubled past and things of that nature. It wasn't in Basara's character to want to pry for personal details. After all, if they wanted to say something about it, they would. He just thought he could be as supportive as he could be. A recently framed family photo was now on the wall with all four of them together, and Basara smiled at that. Perhaps this family thing could work out after all. But on one night in particular, things changed. There was a coldness in the air. When Basara came to the living room, all the lights were off. Maria sat in the family chair and Mio next to her. The girls didn't even recognize his presence. They didn't say a word to him even when he spoke, asking what they wanted for dinner. It was like they ignored him. Things were creepy, but perhaps they were just dealing with something. He tried to be polite and cordial as possible, and then Mio turned to him. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave now," she said, an inflection in her voice that wasn't there before. It was playful but sinister. It wasn't like she was asking. It was as if it were a command, like it were an idle threat. Maria didn't say a word. She just sat there, stoic and facing forward, as if she couldn't even be bothered to deal with what was happening. Before Basara knew what hit him, a wave of energy knocked him against the wall as he fell to the ground. Mio, now having a grin on her face, as her clothes would begin to change, what seemed like horns began to sprout from her head, and she grew a tail, along with bat wings on her back. There are a lot of things in this world you don't understand, Basara. And now, it looks like we're going to be changing the status quo around here. The status quo? What? You're saying that none of this was real? It's as real as we want it to be. So your mom, there wasn't a mom, was there? You know, you're pretty perceptive. Though I gotta say, you're handling this a lot better than most humans ever would. You learn that people like us exist, and you're only concerned about the facts? What are you? Now you're asking the right questions. You see, Basara, in this world, things like heroes, demons, even gods, they're all real. In every way, shape, and form. And you're in the presence of them. This home is going to be occupied by us, and your presence will no longer be needed. You're going to go live with some relatives over in the countryside. Don't worry, we're actually doing you a kindness. For what it's worth, you've actually been a good big brother to us. You've cared for us, protected us. You have a good heart, you and your father. Because of that, we decided not to slaughter you. So instead, you will live in your peaceful ignorance. Don't worry, there's some older family that will take you in. In your minds, you will have always known each other. You'll live your life normally. You can even go back to your old school if you want. You'll forget about this, and it never happened. Maria, are you... Goodbye, Basara. Now, be gone with you. Mio would begin to cast her magic, believing that now they had the boy under their control. At least that's what they thought. He just stood there. Hello? Basara, we told you to leave. Get out of here now. Are you not listening to us? Basara, we said... I'm sorry, but I can't really do that. What? Why didn't the spell work? Maria said, looking at Mio. I don't know. I casted it perfectly. There's no way he could have broke through it. He's nothing but a mere... In an instant, both girls stood side by side, silently as a blade was pressed against their neck. I didn't... Mio? How did he... I didn't see her, Your Highness. When did he... When did I what? When did I get behind you? What happened? You must have blinked or something. This power, this aura, it's the power of the hero clan. But how? Maria would say. How do you have this power? The hero clan were supposed to remain hidden in the village. Why are you living? That's really what you want to ask right now? You have a blade pressed against your neck. And your concern is why a hero is living out amongst regular people and not living in a secluded village? That's really what you want to ask me. What do you want? You know, in the time that you blinked, I could have slashed you 10 different ways. Your lives would have been taken in that moment. The moment you closed them, that would have been your death. To be honest, I have nothing against you personally, except for the fact that you tried to brainwash me. And who knows what else you did to my father. He took you in. He cared about you. And you played with his emotions like that? Give me one good reason why I shouldn't end you. What do we do? He's serious. Yeah! Basara would dissipate his blade, disappearing in the green flames. I want you out of this house. Now! I'll send your things to wherever you end up going. You stay away from me. You stay away from my father, and I never want to see your faces again. Consider this your mercy. The girls left without any fuss. They knew better than to try to pick a fight, even if it was 2-1, because deep down they knew they didn't have the power for that kind of showdown. Meanwhile, Basara would call his father to let him know what had happened, but to his surprise, his father knew everything. Well, yeah, I figured it was kind of obvious, don't you think? Obvious? You just let a demon and a succubus into our house. How is that obvious? There's a lot that I haven't told you, Basara. I know that it's not the common thing for heroes and demons to work together, but these circumstances are kind of extenuating. You see, Maria isn't any ordinary demon girl. She's half human, half demon. But there's also something else that you should know. What's that? Well, as I'm sure you're quite aware, based on history lessons that you were given as a child, you know about the demon realm. Yeah, I do. What exactly do you know about it? I know that those in the spirit world haven't been able to journey into the demon world very much. They've only gotten to 1.5 layers. But there's endless layers upon layers of the demon world that move down in a bottom-way motion. Right. I also know that there's a barrier that protects from A-class and S-class demons from entering into our world. If they were able to, it would pretty much be the end. But because of that, smaller scale demons in the D or C class are able to journey through the gaps. Right. But do you remember the kings? Yes, I do. There are 3 demon kings, right? Each one of their own territory. There's Ryzen, the Mazaku. Then there's Mukuro, half demon, half cybernetic. And finally, the demon blind, Yomi. That's right. Glad to see that you were paying attention all those years. Dad, I didn't call you to go down memory lane and have a history lesson. Yes, I know. But tell me, what do you know about the 4th king? What 4th king? There are only 3. That's what they don't want you to know, son. What? You're saying that there's a 4th king? There is. His name was Wilbert. He was the 4th demon king. Although, out of the 3, he was probably the most peaceable. More peaceable than even Ryzen. He sworn off of even devouring a human thousands of years ago. Yes, and his grumbling stomach can be heard all across the demon lands. But Wilbert was different. After the Great War, he was the one that sought peace. He even removed himself from discussions with the other kings. As such, they stopped recognizing him as one. But even if it's unofficial, he was the 4th king. Why are you saying was? Wilbert had a lot of enemies when he turned back from his warlike ways. You see, when the demon kings were at war with one another, and at war against the hero clan, Wilbert was actually a dastardly bastard, to say the least. I should know. I encountered him a few times on the battlefield. But when he changed his ways, something that happens when you become a father. Those closest to him chose to use that against him. He sent his daughter to the human world to be raised so that she could be kept out of the political affairs of the demon world. A year ago, Wilbert was killed, and his enemies, since then, have begun their search for his heir. Maria. That's right. I know it's not common for those of the hero clan to help those of the demon clan. But right now, there's a political upheaval going on in the demon realm. Look, I know it's hard. But those girls, they have no one. The few people that were looking out for them have been butchered to death. They're on their own. If we can do some good and help them out, isn't that the true essence of a hero? Basara knew that his father was right, and it also meant something else. The girls had gone wandering off into the night, hoping to find a new home for themselves. But for Maria, she was tired. She was tired of lying, of using their powers to deceive others. After what they had done last time, it had almost gotten them killed. Now, she believed that it was best if maybe they just stopped. They could find their own home. They didn't have to keep using their powers to lie and to deceive. Plus, Maria just didn't want to be a burden to anyone anymore. Mio promised to be by her side no matter what. And when the two found themselves surrounded by enemies looking to capture them and take their lives, the two girls would stand together to fight against the shadow monsters. They began to crawl out of their portals, Maria using her magic attempting to blast them away and destroy them. But her power was not fully developed and she was not strong enough. Mio assisted where she could with her enhanced strength, but it could only get them so far. Soon they found themselves completely surrounded by the shadow demons, who prepared to strike at Maria and take her life. But before they could, a loud cry could be heard. Tenfold technique! Speed burst! In a flash of green aura, the shadow demons would be killed. It looked like a speeding blur of light had struck through each and every single one of them. Man, I haven't had to go that fast in a while. Basara? Maria would say. Why are you... Why wouldn't I show up? My sisters needed me, right? Basara smiled as he walked over to the two girls and extended his hand. I know about everything that's happened to you so far. Maybe not the full details, but I understand well enough. You know? Mio would say. Yeah. I can't say I fully understand everything that's going on. Demon politics aren't my specialty. But I know how to help someone when they need it. And you guys need all the help that you can get. Look, don't think of me as a hero. Just think of me as a friend, lending you my support. So come on, let's go home. This concludes Testament of the Sister New Devil, Speed Burst. What if Basara Toujo was the Flash? Season 1, Part 1. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned this evening as we'll be coming out with our second news story of the week, and come back tomorrow morning as we continue with Testament of the Sister New Devil Speed Burst, whether Basara Toujo was the Flash, Season 1, Part 2. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time. So, that's the gist of it. Jin, Genkai said as she sipped her tea. Every time you come around, you're always going off to get yourself in some kind of trouble. You keep tempting fate, sooner or later you're going to find yourself sitting at Koinma's desk. Oh, now you're just wishing bad luck on me, aren't you? Oh, please. You've always been a natural-born troublemaker. But this has to be the dumbest thing you have ever tried to do. Just when I thought that the peaceful times were going to be lasting a little bit longer, you decide that you want to stir the pot by going to the demon realm? Well, I'm one of the few people with the classifications to do it. Just because you have it, it doesn't mean that you should. If you know what's good for you, you'll leave this alone. Well, I really don't see how I can. If we leave things as they are, the political unrest down there will only get worse. And, Genkai said, you could be branded as a heretic. You're already ostracized from the Hero Clan. If you get labeled with that title, you know what's going to happen. Campione, the spirit detectives, everyone will be after you. You're powerful, Jin. Extremely so. But do you really want to make everyone in the world your enemy? Jin sighed as he took another draw from his cigarette. To protect my family, I'll fight God himself. Be very mindful, Jin. This isn't like the old days. More and more powerful beings are being developed in this world. You keep testing your luck, and sooner or later it's going to run out. Then perhaps it's time for me to remind the world what I'm truly capable of. After all, there's a reason why the Hero Clan hasn't branded me a heretic yet. They know what's good for them. They'll stay the hell away from me and my family. Well, then, I guess it can't be helped, Genkai said. Just do us all a favor and try not to start another war. It gets very taxing on me, and I would prefer to spend my free time playing my video games. Aren't you a little too old for video games? Watch it, Mr. S-Class Hero. Or perhaps I should remind you of your youthful days when I was kicking your ass all across this forest. Come on now, Genkai. No need to be so violent. Perhaps we could play a few rounds before I head out. Sure thing. Hold on a second. Yusuke! I'm stepping out for a bit. When I get back, you better not be dead! Genkai would yell to the cliffside over, as a young Yusuke Urameshi was hanging on for dear life. The damn old witch! If I survive this, I'm gonna kick her ass!